And Basilio, thank you very much for that great presentation. What a great way to lead into Latin Resources. And today we signed an MOU with the Ministerial State that puts our project now as #1 priority in that state. And if we just had a look at a few of those slides, the size of the 21 million people in the state, massive amount of investment going in there at the moment. And we are very, very confident that Brazil will one day be up there with Australia in producing lithium due to their great geology and also their investment as well. So thank you, Basilio. And Ronaldo and Fernanda, thank you also for today. So I've been coming here this is my 15th year with Latin Resources. I think that it's been a pivotal year in 2022 for the company, and I'll show you why, but I think we're going to have a much bigger year this year in 23 leading into 24. Everyone in this room probably knows now what the supply-demand gap is looking like. This supply gap was 1 million tonnes 2030, 2 years ago. It's now 2 million tonnes deficit of lithium. A lot of people are now calling that 3 million tonnes. We will see EVs, and what's not mentioned often is electric storage systems. ESS is growing, but the bottom line is that in 10 years' time, 50% of the world's cars will be electric. I had a meeting with Toyota and Panasonic in Toronto at PDAC last week, and I believe this is public, but which utterly nearly threw me off my chair, is that Toyota's vehicle fleet by 2035 will be all electric. Most other car companies are following the same suit. So lithium's in for a big ride. We'll have a couple of little price drop-offs, I think, this year, but once that EV growth kicks in, we're going to see a lot more demand for lithium than we're seeing already. As I mentioned earlier, 15 years Latin Resources has been incorporated. We have a copper asset, MTO3 in Peru. We have an investment. We're the largest shareholder of a company called Solis, where we spun out our copper assets back in 2017-18. Excellent copper assets in Peru. And more recently, Solis announced that they've entered into the northeast of Brazil in a lithium area up in the Rio Grande do Norte state. We also have a joint venture, and our joint venture partners are here today. Integra Capital, we have a joint 50-50 joint venture with Argentina, and I'll touch on that. But our major focus and the project we're really, really excited about is our Brazil lithium project in the state of Minas Gerais. So a little bit, I think Basilio did a wonderful job on Minas Gerais. One of the things you missed, with respect, is that 65% of Brazil's electricity comes from hydro. Our project will be run purely by hydroelectricity. The cost of that is 2 to 3 cents a kilowatt hour. I ask anyone in this room if they've ever heard of that. Probably 30 years ago we might have had that rate, but it's essentially very cheap to run projects there with the great infrastructure. We have dual highways running through there. Most of Brazil's mining is run on the back of trucks. So if anyone's been to Brazil, see the highway infrastructure is incredible. We're very lucky. We're actually 12 kilometres from a major highway. Sigma Lithium, I can talk about Sigma Lithium in Melbourne and Sydney. No one's ever heard of it. Sigma Lithium is the Pilbara Minerals of North America. I've just, as I said, been in North America, South America for the last 4 weeks. It's a household name in the markets over there. It's listed on NASDAQ and TSX. They did an incredible job. Anna from Sigma has done an incredible job putting Brazil on the map as one of the largest deposits in the world now. That started off at 21 million tonne, went to 47 million tonne. It's now 85 million tonne. And what we know here is spodumene pegmatites, Western Australia. The geology's fantastic. Their NPV grew from 5 billion to 15 billion last year. And it's just a great, great company. The project is currently finalising commission. They will go into production next quarter. To give an idea of how quick Brazil move, how quick Minister Ayres move, they received their environmental permit, I think, Mauro, 2021. They started construction February, and this is all in between COVID, I might add. So in February of 22, last year, they started construction. That was completed February of this year. The commissioning now, they will be going into production April, May. Within 18 months, they're in production. It's amazing, and I'm not talking small production. They'll start at 300,000 tonnes, move to 500, and ultimately next year they'll be producing 700,000 tonnes of spodumene, the same as what Pilbara Minerals is now producing. So, incredible company, and we're really pleased to work on the back of that. 2018, we had our geologists in Argentina looking at some spodumene pegmatites there. Someone sent me the Sigma deck. I asked them to go over to Brazil, start pegging around there. And in 2019, we started staking a lot of this ground. We picked Salinas District. We thought the pegmatites were very strong from a geological point of view. So once we pegged those projects, we had a thing called COVID come in and stopped Brazil was hit pretty hard with COVID. We had to stop exploration, pull the guys out of the field. We got back on late 21, finished off the drill targets. In February of 22, we had our first discovery hole, which blew the market away. And we announced within 10 months, once again, how quick this state, how quick we can move. Within 10 months of that first discovery hole, we produced our first JORC resource of 13.2 million tonnes at 1.2%. Drilling is continuing now. We have an exploration target on Colina of 22 million tonnes. Surprisingly, well, not so much, but we did get a big surprise. We ran some holes across Colina West. We put 4 holes in there. And now that project is proving to be absolutely incredible from the Colina West and what we call Colina to Colina West. So I'll go back a slide. Colina, 13 to 22 million tonnes. We ran some holes across there, what we're now calling Colina West. Some of the intercepts and grades that have come in there. This is looking a whole lot bigger and stronger and higher grade than Colina. So we're really obviously ecstatic about those results. And now we have 7 rigs on site, 65,000 metres of drilling planned for this year. This is one of the most aggressive drill programs in Brazil at the moment, certainly in Minister Ayres, and that resource will grow. We'll put a resource upgrade out in June, and I think there'll be surprise on the upside of this resource size. We're really excited by it, and more importantly, we're starting to see hints of this resource growing further to the southwest. This gives you an idea now of the pegmatites themselves. One of our geologists, I was on site a couple of weeks ago, this is a 30-storey building. That's the size of that intercept in that block there. And hole 77 actually had 1.6%. So we're starting to see the grades lift, obviously intersects lift. On average, as you know, in Western Australia is 1 to 1.2% grade. We're finding Sigma sits at about an average of 1.4. We believe we'll grow that grade as well as the actual resource itself. And the other thing that's really interesting is a lot of people here in this room know these pegmatites form in swarms. As we're drilling further southwest, we're seeing these swarms appear. So we're also going to have an RC program planned through this area here, and we just hope that continues to grow. This will be a world-class deposit with world-class grade. Further south, is about 10 kilometres away, we have another exploration target of Salinas South, which runs CLG, came over that. We'll start first pass drilling on that project in the second quarter of this year, so more exploration upside. Our strategy as a company is to grow the resource as quick as we can, as big as we can. We want the value in the ground. The value in the ground is very, very important for us. so we can get some robust studies around that particular JORC resource. Another great thing about this project, if you go to our stand, you'll see a little sample of our core. The spodumene crystals are very, very coarse, no mica, very little iron, no lepidolite, none of those nasties that you see in a lot of other lithium projects around the world. Our recovery rates are exceptional, 80%, concentrated 6.6. This is going to be a really clean flow sheet. We'll have DMS circuits only. We will not have, at this stage, for lots of things, there'll be no flotation required to pull this material out. So what does that mean? Ultimately, that means a very low capex for us. Sigma's capex for their 700,000 tonne plant was $140 million US. Once again, another testament to Brazil on how efficient and cost effective you can be in building a plant. 1 month payback, $140 million. Unbelievable. We hope to emulate what Sigma have done. A little bit, so that's Brazil, great project. We're very excited about our Argentinian project. Once again, we drilled this back in 2017. We got some very good grade there. The intercept's a bit small, but what we found was this northwest alto, which resembles a Pilbara-style pegmatite through here. We're going to start drilling that towards the end of this year. Once again, COVID knocked us about a bit in that. Our partners are working very hard to get those permits. We hope to be drilling that second half this year. So more further exploration upside for Latin resources in that lithium in Argentina. Just finishing off now, what's really fascinating about what's happening in the world today, you know, as we all know, being Western Australia, China processes 95% of the world's lithium. Every one of these mines in this state is selling material into Korea and China. We will not be doing that. America is growing, 13 gigafactories planned for the next 5 years. The Inflation Reduction Act of $350 billion to fund these projects. This will need 3 to 4 lithium hydroxide plants in the US. We want our material to feed those lithium hydroxide plants. We're a third the distance to travel to the US than Australia or China, so that carbon footprint is a lot lower. Our ESG policy, which we're growing, blends beautifully into this sort of process. America, I was with Ken Brinsden about 3 months ago on a roadshow, stood up here and said, America's in a shitload of pain. They're building all this conversion power, but they don't have raw material. Canada and Brazil will feed into that North American machine. And with that will bring massive profits to those companies who can be able to do that. A little bit on our timeline now. We'll have, as I mentioned earlier, a resource upgrade in June. We've started on our scoping study, a PEA as the Canadians call it. Every consultant that worked on Sigma's project to get to where they are today are working on ours. SGS Lakefield in Canada are working on our mineral resource estimate, on our pre-feasibility study. They will also move into our DFS. Algeria, who operated the environmental studies for Sigma, are working on our project. We're picking up Sigma's blueprint and moving it into ours. So one thing I forgot to mention that first slide, Sigma is a $4 billion market cap company. Latin is $250 million. You don't have to be Einstein to sort of work out what's going to happen over the next 2 years. Is there any brokers in the room? Yeah? Any, Bill? Any? So we're really excited about the project. Test work, the DMS pilot plant is in SGS Lakefield. I was out there last week with the guys. Brilliant operation. And of course, the DFS, we now think will be completed by the first quarter of next year. And we're going to move into production very quickly with the help of our friends at Ministerias. A little bit on the board, Dave Lenski, our chairman's here, myself, Brent Jones is here from Melbourne, Pablo's here. It's the first time we've had all the directors in the room at one time. Peter Oliver joined our board 4 months ago. For those who don't know Peter Oliver, Peter turned a project called, or a mine called Greenbushes from a tin tamp, the mine into the world's most profitable and largest lithium mine in the world. He had several, he finished up with those guys in June last year at Tianqi. is looking around, saw our project, and he selected Lat Resources to come in and help develop our company into a production stage. So we're really honoured and pleased to have Peter's knowledge into the company to take us to the next level. A little bit on the corporate overview, about 250, 260 million market cap. We have just over $20 million in the bank, so we're well funded to move through the next stage of drilling into DFS, and we're really excited about getting any shareholders, any potential shareholders on board. So thanks very much for your time, and I'll be at the stand today. If you want to chat with me, please feel free. Thanks very much.